Oh, hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mr. Sanders Twin again, and we are back on the couch. So, we have two whole chapters to read, but I got my iced coffee and I'm raring to go, and I hope you are too. So, without further ado, let's get started. Chapter 11. Gabe ran until he couldn't. Then he half walked, half jogged. His scalp itched while he waited for another energy beam to incinerate him. It didn't happen. Maybe the assassins weren't in geosynchronous orbit and had to swing back around the world before taking another shot. Maybe. His breath caught up with him. He noticed which direction he was going and decided it was a good direction. Then he ducked into a corner store to buy a cheap disposable cell phone. The building had 4 stories. 4 ceilings stood between him and the sky, between him and whatever hostile thing was shooting at him from the other side of the sky. He paced the store, waiting for another blast that didn't come. He stood still, waiting. It still didn't come. The front door of the corner store made an obnoxious electronic beep when someone opened it. Gabe jumped. His heart smacked against the inside of his rib cage. Someone is shooting at me. They imploded my house. They destroyed Dad's kitchen. Dad is getting kicked out of the country. Lupe is getting kicked out of college before she even gets to go. Gabe's new rage sparks blazed. More of him caught on fire. He didn't know how to handle that. He didn't know what to do about it. Then he thought of something that he could do. The store clerk obviously assumed that Gabe was an inept and fidgety shoplifter plagued by preemptive guilt and kept a suspicious eye on him. Can I help you? The clerk asked in a way that meant, I doubt it, and I'd rather not. I need a phone, said Gabe. The cell phones on the counter in front of him were much too fancy to buy with Lupe's cash. Each was a pocket sized computer screen. Can I see one that plays videos? He asked, pointing. A quick search found what he was looking for online. Last year's commencement speech at Lupe's school, which had been taped by the phone cameras of proud parents. Hello, everyone, said the little screen in a friendly, folksy voice. I'm Principal Ginny Brewer. Welcome, friends and family of the graduating seniors of Southeast High. The clerk stepped back to let Gabe play with a phone that he obviously wasn't going to actually buy. It was chained to the counter, so Gabe couldn't steal it without bolt cutters. The clerk still watched him, just in case he had bolt cutters. Gabe set his backpack on the counter next to the phone. Listen to this, he whispered to the backpack. The envoy made an impatient noise, but couldn't extend its throat enough to actually answer. After watching Principal Brewer's speech, Gabe did another quick internet search and found the phone number he needed. Then he dug Lupe's wad of cash out of his pocket and purchased a cheaper disposable phone. The corner store wasn't far from a light rail train stop, and the train would be the quickest way to become a moving target. He hurried to the stop. He paced while waiting. He tried not to look up. The top of his scalp still itched in anticipation of shots fired from orbit. The train arrived. Gabe hopped on board and hoped it was fast enough to keep alien weapons from getting a fix on his location. In his head, he apologized to everyone else on the train for putting them in danger just by riding with them, just by sitting nearby. All right, we're going to answer the first question. Why does Gabe feel guilty while on the train? You'll find the answer to this question in this paragraph right here. Specifically, in his head, he apologized to everyone else on the train for putting them in danger just by riding with them, just by sitting nearby. If you like a sentence starter, you can say, he feels guilty because blank. All right, let's continue. If his attackers were in orbit, then they might be on the far side of the world at that moment. Or they might have already circled the globe and come back again, ready for another shot. Or else they might still be directly above him, moving as the world moved, taking careful aim. Gabe didn't know. He didn't have any idea how much time would pass before they tried again. He didn't even know who they were. The vast expanse of everything he did not know stretched away from him in every direction. He felt like he was drowning in ignorance. But he did have one thing that he planned to do with the slow rage simmering inside him. He thought about taking the train as far as the Mall of America, which was huge and easy enough to hide in. But the great big mall was always crowded, and he didn't want to endanger more bystanders. He needed to find a place with fewer people nearby. After that, he needed to figure out why he was under attack at all. Gabe disembarked at Minnehaha Falls, a large stretch of urban park. He was supposed to come here anyway for the summer reading project, though writing an essay about Hiawatha didn't seem too important now. But he could still hide there. He could be alone there. He raced into the park as quickly as he could with a heavy envoy filled bag on his back. Minnehaha was supposed to mean laughing water in Dakota, but it didn't. It just meant waterfall. So Minnehaha Falls was actually redundant, like saying Waterfall Falls. Gabe followed sidewalk trails. He passed a statue of Hiawatha in Minnehaha. He kept looking up. Bright and fluffy clouds crossed the blue sky and gave no hint of what might be searching for him on the other side. His stomach complained. He glanced up again and realized that it was early evening already. He needed to eat something. He bought fish tacos from the park restaurant. It was the cheapest thing on the menu. He crossed his fingers and hoped that alien assassins did not attack while he stood in line. He kept glancing at the ceiling, expecting it to burn. Hungry? He whispered to his backpack. The envoy still didn't have enough room to make a mouth and throat for itself, so its answer sounded more like a whispered burp than a word. I didn't catch that, Gabe whispered. Do it again, once for yes and twice for no. Are you hungry? The backpack burped twice, so Gabe ordered food just for himself. Once he had his tacos, he went back outside and struck out across the park, keeping away from joggers, picnics, and people with strollers. He ate while he walked. The food vanished before he really noticed it was there. It must have been good. The last time he had come here, he'd chased the twins around for hours. He couldn't help looking around for them now, constantly noticing their absence, constantly reminding himself that they were not here with him, and that he wouldn't be at the Underground Railroad stop that was also Frankie's house when the twins arrived. They would need him, but Gabe and Dad would both be gone. He forced himself to think practical thoughts. I should find cover, something thick and substantial to hide under. He hurried down a long staircase to the bottom of the falls. The staircase ended at a stone and cement bridge that crossed the creek and led to a hiking trail. Gabe looked around. He didn't see anyone else there, hiking or posing for pictures in front of the waterfall. He jumped the railing, scrambled down the rocky slope, and ducked underneath the bridge. Several boulders poked up from the creek. Gabe climbed onto one of them. The stone surface was cold, sheltered from sunlight. Gabe sat over the water and under cement, which seemed thick, solid, and possibly safe from orbital energy beams. He opened his backpack and let the envoy out. Why are we hiding under a bridge? It asked. Because someone's shooting at us, said Gabe. From orbit. They tried once in Frankie's backyard, but they missed. I wondered what the noise was, said the envoy. It stretched out and poked the cement above them. This might provide adequate shelter for now. You should take the opportunity to sleep. Gabe just laughed. You think I should sleep while perched on a cold rock and hiding from death rays? Yes, the envoy insisted. To survive, you must learn who is trying to kill you. To serve your world as ambassador, you must learn who is trying to sever diplomatic contact and why. It's most likely whoever is in the ships among the asteroids. You'll have to go back to the embassy to learn these things. And to go back to the embassy, you have to be asleep. Entangled travel will get easier as you get used to it. You'll be able to slip into a trance whenever you need to, and then return at will. Eventually. But you don't have that skill yet. So just try to sleep instead. Okay, let's go ahead and answer the next question. What does the envoy want Gabe to do? Make sure you're paying attention to these few sentences right here. To serve your world as ambassador, you must learn who is trying to sever diplomatic contact and why. It's most likely whoever is in those ships among the asteroids. You'll have to go back to the embassy to learn these things. A sentence starter could be the envoy wants Gabe to blank. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Right, said Gabe. Sure, I'll try to sleep. But first, I need your help with something. I need your voice. I need you to copy someone else's. The rage in Gabe glowed, desperate for something to do. Only one Paul Arpaio lived in southeast Minneapolis, and his home phone number had been easy to find. Hello, Paul, said the envoy in Principal Brewer's folksy voice. You're fired, I'm afraid. Gabe held the phone to the envoy's puppetish mouth. He heard shocked sputtering on the other side of the conversation. I have complaints from the parents of several students you've threatened, Paul. Lupe couldn't be the only one. Gabe was sure of that. If the counselor savored his power over students so much, then he wouldn't be content to savor it only once. And pretending that several students had come forward to complain should keep this from coming back around to Lupe. He heard Mr. Arpaio continue to sputter. Now, please don't make a stink about this, the envoy interrupted. I'm not going to report you, but don't expect a reference. Come clean out your desk first thing tomorrow. Yes, even though it's summer. I want this to be quick and painless. Goodbye, Paul. Gabe hung up the phone. He felt a kind of satisfaction he had never experienced before. He usually tried to make conflicts vanish, to keep everyone else as happy as possible. This new feeling was a different, brooding sort. This was how Batman must feel after punching someone who needed to be punched. Perfect, he said. Thank you, Envoy. The envoy changed the shape of its throat to use Gabe's mother's voice. You are welcome, Ambassador. I hope it works. Me too, said Gabe. The guy sounded scared and pissed. Right? He did, the envoy confirmed. Very agitated, very angry, and also frightened. Then he'll either keep his head down and go away quietly, or he'll go shouting. He might want to make someone else feel as small and helpless as he does right now, so he won't have to feel that way anymore. Maybe he'll say horrible things to other people in the office on his way out. The envoy nodded its mouth. So if he burns his ships and bridges tomorrow morning, then he won't be able to go back to his old job regardless, even though he hasn't actually been fired. That's the idea, said Gabe. All right, let's go ahead and answer the next question. How does Gabe get back at Lupe's guidance counselor? Make sure that you are paying attention right here. Hello, Paul, said the envoy in Principal Brewer's folksy voice. You're fired, I'm afraid. And if you'd like a sentence starter, you can use he gets back, or rather, Gabe gets back at him by blank. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Is this how you feel as well, Ambassador? The envoy asked. Did you need to make someone else feel as small and helpless as you do? Gabe didn't answer that. He sent a text to Lupe instead. Here's my new phone number. She sent an answering text quickly. Got it. And you should keep going to summer school, Gabe went on. It took a while for him to type out each letter. He never owned a phone before, and his thumbs weren't used to typing with it. Your college counselor just got fired. How am I going to say this? Ah, she replied. It's true, Gabe typed. Gotta go now. Bye. His new phone rang as Lupe tried to actually call him. Gabe made it stop ringing by pushing buttons at random, and then he stuck the phone in his backpack. Okay, he said, that's done. Now, how do I search for assassins? What should I do? Wander around the chancery at random and shout, Hey, anybody here trying to kill me? The envoy sighed. It sounded so much like Mom's exasperated sigh that Gabe felt something fracture inside him. No, you probably shouldn't do that, said the envoy. I'm sure you'll be able to figure out a more subtle way to investigate. Ask Protocol for help. Even though Protocol will be reluctant to give it, you might try. Gabe interrupted. He couldn't pay attention to what it was saying, not at all. Not when it used that voice to say it with. Stop talking, he said. Stop talking like her. It isn't comforting. You need to sound like someone else. The envoy paused. Then it reorganized its mouth and throat. Is this more comfortable for you to hear? It asked in a deeper, more concerned, and completely unfamiliar voice. Are you more at ease now? Gabe shook his head. No, not really. Never mind. I guess I'm used to her voice coming out of your mouth, so it's actually worse to hear you sound like a stranger. I'm sorry. Go back to using hers. The envoy reshaped its vocal cords again. It spoke kindly and cautiously with Gabe's mother's voice. How's this? Better, said Gabe. Thank you. He curled up on the cold stone. Keep watch while I nap, okay? Wake me up if we're under attack. I'll keep watch, the envoy promised. Sleep well. Learn as much as you can. Then act on the best information you have while also doubting what you think you know. Right, Gabe said. That sounds easy. Nothing worth doing is easy, Ambassador. Gabe tried to sleep. He tried not to think about the word deportation. He thought about the Hiawatha poem instead, the one he was supposed to read this summer, the one that called this place Laughing Water. Remembering the poem shaped his thoughts into that same plodding rhythm, like a tune stuck in his head. He put his own words to the rhythm. Now Ambassador Fuentes fled the burning of his household, fled the death rays from the heavens, and took refuge in the parkland, by the falls that were not laughing. The sound of the flowing creek and the thump, 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 thump of the words in his head calmed him down and slowed his pulse. He slept. All right, let's go ahead and answer the last question of the chapter. How does Gabe make himself sleep? Make sure you're paying attention to this part right here. He put his own words to the rhythm. The sound of the flowing creek and the thump, 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 thump of the words in his head calmed him down and slowed his pulse. And if you'd like a sentence starter, you can use Gabe makes himself sleep by blank. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Ambassador Gabriel Sandro Fuentes, be welcome. Hi, Protocol, said Gabe. Hello, Ambassador. Is this self image to your liking? Gabe looked in the mirror. Looks great, he said, though he wasn't really sure about the ears. Excellent. Protocol almost sounded pleased. The mirror door slid open. Proceed. Gabe did not proceed. I'm going to need some help. he told the room around him. Very well, said Protocol. It sounded weary again. How may I assist you? Gabe wasn't even sure which questions to ask. He didn't know how much he didn't know. I'm not sure who to talk to out there. Your envoy still has not explained very much to you, I take it. The room made large and impatient noises. Very well. It is obviously not possible for anyone to perceive the full size of this place at any one time, no matter how many eyes you happen to have or how impressive your cognitive ability. It is vast. It contains far too many entangled occupants. Both the place itself and the ambassadors gathered inside it are filtered down. You cannot see most of the chancery while inside. You cannot see most of the representatives here either. You experience both at a manageable size. With time and training, an ambassador can control their own filters of perception to specifically include the colleagues they intend to interact with. If your world had bothered to establish a proper ambassador academy before now, then you would have had the necessary perception training already. Sorry, said Gabe, though he wasn't. Not at all. He was not in the mood to apologize for his planet. So am I, said Protocol. Given your lack of training, your envoy should have given you more instruction between embassy visits. We've been busy, said Gabe, without further apology. I see, said Protocol. Whom are you looking for? Assassins, Gabe thought, but didn't say. I need to talk to my neighbors, he said aloud. Space travel takes a long time and a lot of effort, he thought. The envoy said so, and I knew that already. So I agree with Sapie. Whoever is lurking in the system is probably from around here somewhere. Delegates from system adjacent to your own? Protocol asked, clarifying. Yes, said Gabe. You might consider calling for a local match, Protocol suggested, though he also sounded doubtful. In that case, summons will be sent to representatives of every civilization within a certain minimal distance of your own. Once gathered together, you will all play a game of your choosing. By tradition, whoever calls the match selects the game. During play, you will discuss whatever matters you consider important. Many clusters and constellations of ambassadors meet regularly to resume games of long standing. Your sector of the galaxy, however, does not. Can I request a match? Gabe asked. You may, said Protocol, though I recommend that you avoid doing so. Why? The room paused as though very carefully choosing its translated response. It is not for me to tell you why. It is not my place to comment on the actions of civilizations represented here. I am the place itself and not an ambassador. I am only the protocol by which ambassadors meet to share information and make their own decisions. The purpose of this embassy is to grant representative communication to everyone capable of communicating within a single galaxy. I am a conduit of information, not a source. The room clearly wanted to say more, even though it also thought that it shouldn't. But, Gabe prompted, but you might want to consider asking your colleagues about the Outlast, the room told him, still uncomfortable. All right, let's go ahead and answer the next question. What does what does protocol suggest that Gabe do? Make sure you're paying attention to this part. But you might consider asking your colleagues about the Outlast, the room told him, still uncomfortable. And a sentence starter could be the protocol, or not the protocol. Protocol suggests Gabe blank. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Them again, Gabe thought. Thank you, he said aloud. I will. He tried to be extra formal and official. Protocol loved formality. It was the nature of protocol to love formality. And I apologize for asking you to step out of place. Accepted, said the room, sounding mollified. I understand that you do lack the proper training. Allowances must be made on your behalf. Gabe sidestepped the room's condescension. So if I shouldn't call for a local match, and I don't know how to notice specific people, how can I find and talk to my neighbors? The chancery is crowded. It is certainly crowded, said Protocol proudly. It is a place of infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Even if a significant percentage of the galaxy is still currently experiencing mass extinctions, the Chancery is still very crowded. Wait, what was that? Gabe asked, alarmed. Mass extinctions? That sounds bad. I am sure it is unpleasant for those involved, Protocol agreed. Why is it happening? That is not for me to say, Protocol told him. Gabe swallowed his frustration. It took effort. It stuck in his throat. My parents are in prison because they're from Mexico, he thought. My house lost a fight with a black hole. If the galaxy itself is burning down, then I'd appreciate it if you gave me a heads up. But he didn't say any of that out loud. Protocol changed the subject. As for your request to speak with the representatives of civilizations most proximate to your own, I can help you locate 3 of your closest neighbors, those native to planets within the Centauri cluster. All 3 are currently entangled and conversing together. I will guide you to them. The lights dimmed, a clear hint that Gabe should leave. He could hardly see anything other than the doorway. Thank you, Protocol, said Gabe. You are welcome, Ambassador Fuentes, said the darkened room around him. The Chancery weather had changed since Gabe's first visit. There were more clouds, and the light shining down from each corner of the indoor sky took on new colors. It didn't seem like any particular time of day, with no rising or setting sun to measure time with. It just seemed different. One cloud changed shape to become a great big arrow. It hovered above 3 ambassadors who stood clustered together near the tree line. They didn't seem to notice a huge cloud arrow hanging in the sky and pointing at them. Subtle, said Gabe. Thanks, Protocol. He climbed down from the hills and approached the floating arrow. An elaborate ball game unfolded over his head, played by flying and hovering ambassadors. It might have been an attempt to make a large and interactive map of several solar systems, or it might have been some kind of space soccer. No one used their hands to catch the ball, which made it look a bit like soccer, but they also avoided using their feet or wings or whatever limbs they happened to have. The players whacked the ball back and forth with the side of their hips. It looked difficult and painful. A long line of other kids sat whispering together. Ripples of laughter ran up and down the line. They're playing telephone, Gabe realized. That must be especially strange and hilarious with so many translations involved. He approached the 3 kids beneath the big orange arrow. The arrow cloud dissipated as he drew near. Then he stopped, unsure how to introduce himself. The tallest one, a girl, held a broken branch. The 2 smaller kids looked boyish. All 3 took turns plucking leaves, folding leaf paper airplanes like the one Gabe had made earlier, and then throwing them. They spoke low, whispering to each other. All of them wore simple orange robes. Gabe squinted, just for a moment, to see how they saw themselves. Their shapes shifted. The tall girl looked like an eel with an entire cat for a head. One of the smaller boys looked like an armadillo made out of jellyfish. The other one resembled a tangle of tree roots and elephant ears. Gabe immediately regretted the squint. He opened his eyes wide and tried to forget about what he had just seen, tried to trust the translation in order to more comfortably communicate and introduce himself. He still felt awkward about barging up and saying hello, especially since one of these 3 kids might be trying to kill him. All right, let's go ahead and answer the next question. How does Gabe feel when approaching the alien kids? You'll find what you're looking for in this paragraph, specifically these couple sentences. He still felt awkward about barging up and saying hello, especially since one of these three kids might be trying to kill him. If you'd like a sentence starter, you can use Gabe feels blank when approaching the alien kids. All right, let's go ahead and continue. The other ambassadors noticed him and all turned to stare. Gabe held up one hand. He hoped the gesture translated well. Hello, he said. I'm Gabe. Are any of you surprised to see that I'm still alive? He wondered. The tall girl stepped forward, immediately taking charge, as though she were the oldest as well as the biggest. Her hair trailed all the way down to the ground. Hello, I'm Jur of the Builders and the Yards. She pointed to one of the boys. This is Kath, 17th in the unbroken line. Gabe wished he had used a more full and formal name to introduce himself. Hello, everyone. I am Gabriel Sandro Fuentes of Terra, or maybe Gabriel the Guardian of Lizard, Bird, and Fox. Except I had to abandon those three in Frankie's kitchen, so if that was my official role, then I've already failed it. He nodded to Kath and tried not to think of him as Jelly Armadillo. I really shouldn't have squinted, he thought. Kath said nothing. His translated appearance was completely bald, and his eyes shimmered strangely. The look he gave Gabe was wary, suspicious, and unwelcoming. Jur of the Builders and the Yards pointed at the third ambassador. This is ripe fruit dropped in sun-baked mud and left to sit content. It's his child name. His scent will change after puberty when he settles and puts down more permanent roots, and then his name will change with it. He goes by Ripe for short, and he might not really notice you if your species doesn't have a developed sense of smell or a memorably translated scent of your own. Don't be offended if he ignores you. He doesn't mean to be rude. He's a plant? Gabe asked, surprised. He's flora, yes, said Jur. Doesn't he mind tearing leaves off another plant? No, said Jur, politely annoyed. This is a game. It's a translated plant. And I think he cooks and eats other plants where he comes from. Ripe had messy hair that waved and twisted by itself. He folded a new leaf paper airplane without acknowledging Gabe. It did seem more absent minded than rude. I must not have a very memorable smell, Gabe thought. He remembered his mother's powerful sense of smell while she was pregnant with the twins. She could recognize family members by scent rather than sight or sound, so she became impossible to sneak up on. This had seemed like a superpower to Gabe, like something she could have used to fight crime. She figured that detectives should always be pregnant, the better to sniff out evildoers. Mom had been less excited about her temporary powers, though, and Dad had had to change all his recipes to avoid cooking up kitchen smells that nauseated her. It was the only time he had ever seemed flustered about which spices to use. Gabe gently set the memory aside. Then he shut a mental door on that memory, locked the door, and hid the key. Ripe tossed his folded glider. It didn't go far. Can I play? Gabe asked. The whole playground setup really was useful. It gave them something to do and a way to interact, even when they weren't sure what to say to each other. He reached for the branch to pluck a leaf of his own. No, said Kath immediately. No, 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 no. He kept his eyes fixed on Gabe while shaking his head, which was unsettling to see. Maybe later, said Jur, still polite, still annoyed. She sounded like a babysitter who wasn't getting paid enough for the job. This is a private game. We live in overlapping systems, so we have shared concerns to discuss while we play. Then maybe I should join in, said Gabe, also polite and not wanting to intrude, but not willing to leave either. Protocol says that we're neighbors, so we might have some of the same things to talk about. He would have done this differently if not in a hurry. He would have waited, observed, sorted out the politics, and learned how to navigate them, just as he might have done in any other kind of playground. It's important to know who hates to share the swings. It's good to figure out which bullies find fart jokes funny, and whether you can get them to stop throwing rocks by telling one. Gabe would have tried to make friends slowly, to figure out where he was welcome before barging into a group in a game uninvited. But he didn't have time for that. Someone was shooting at him. His sleeping self hid underneath a bridge. He needed to hurry. The other three ambassadors looked alarmed at the news that they were neighbors. Send him away, Kath whispered, urgent. His shimmering eyes grew very wide, and he tugged at Jur's sleeve with both hands. Send the Gabe away now. Quick, do it. Send away the Gabe. Just keep playing, Jur told him in a loud, urgent whisper. Focus. We might attract his attention if we stop playing. Fold another leaf. Whose attention? Gabe asked. The three all busied themselves with folding gliders. They pretended that they hadn't heard him. Gabe looked around. Omegan of the Outlast stood on a hilltop nearby. Gabe remembered the phrase mass extinctions. Don't look at the Outlast, Kath hissed. His ears grew wide enough to take up most of his face, and his ears began to flutter up and down. Don't ever, 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 ever look at the Outlast. And please go away. His voice rose and fell whenever he said a word over and over, from whisper to loud and then back down to a whisper with every ever. Gabe didn't protest or bother to argue. Instead, he took one slow step closer, plucked his own leaf, and threw his own airplane. It flew a long way. Jur sighed. Maybe he should stay, she said, though she still sounded like a babysitter with better things to do. He might hurt us more out of ignorant blundering than by knowing our business. He should learn enough to keep quiet. And he might be able to contribute somehow. No, 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 Kath insisted. His ears still fluttered like an agitated moth. He can't help us. He's brand new, and he can't travel far. We would have noticed his people already if they could, and we haven't, so they can't. All right, let's answer the next question. Why does Kath want to send Gabe away? You'll find the answer you're looking for in this paragraph. No, 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 Kath insisted. His ears still fluttered like an agitated moth. He can't help us. He's brand new, and he can't travel far. We would have noticed his people already if they could, and we haven't, so they can't. And if you'd like a sentence starter, you can use he wants to send Gabe away because blank. All right, let's go ahead and continue. He folded a glider and threw it hard. It did not travel far either. Kat's aggressive nervousness and distaste made Gabe suspicious. Why exactly are you trying to get rid of me? He thought. Why do you want me to go away? Did you recognize me? Do you expect me to be crushed inside a clothes dryer rather than here? Ripe sat down. He made several gliders and set them all on the ground beside him. This is a meal, he said. This is all a cooking cake inside an oven cave with worms alive inside it. This is the sort of cake that might eat everyone else slowly after they digest it. Gabe was not sure what that meant or whether it might be suspicious. The newcomer is still more dangerous to us ignorant than he is knowing, said Jur. She folded two gliders and tossed them together, one from each hand. They spun around each other in a double spiral before drifting apart. Anna's system is close. This matters to him too. No, 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 Kath protested, but he spoke softly as though already resigned to losing the argument. Don't let him know about things he can't ever escape. Cruel, 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 cruel. It's too cruel of us to tell him. Tell me what? Gabe demanded, though he tried to keep his voice low and quiet. Jur lashed her long hair behind her. Evacuation, she said. Kath groaned. Ripe sniffed the air. Jur ignored them both. We're planning to evacuate our systems, she went on. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're trying to do. The Outlast is expanding suddenly and impossibly fast. They've claimed much of their spiral arm already, and now they've begun to invade our own smaller arm. So we plan to abandon our homes. But we're not sure how to do it or where to go. Should we travel together like the Kayan, all in one nomadic fleet? Or should we split up and scatter? Do we tell each other which way we're going or try to stay safe by staying secret? Do we hide and then try to find our way home again later? Do we risk uprooting Ripe's elders so they can travel? Or should his people send only seed pod ships? Do we ask the Machine for help? Cass shook his head several times. The Machine never listen. Never, never, never. No one understands them. And once we leave, we can never go back, not after the Outlast lays claim to our system. Then it belongs to them, always, 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 from now until the universe collapses on itself. That's only what they believe, said Jur. Her hair snapped like a whip. Yes, Kat said sadly, and they've been right so far. He gave up on the glider he was trying to fold, crumpled it, and threw away the crumpled ball. All right, let's answer the next question. What does Jur tell Gabe? Focus on this part of this paragraph. We're planning to evacuate our systems, she went on. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're trying to do. The Outlast is expanding suddenly and impossibly fast. If you'd like a sentence starter, you can use Jur tells Gabe blank. Gabe plucked another leaf. Your plane will fly better if you fold the wingtips, he told Kath. Like this. Kath and Jur both watched him fold. Ripe stayed where he sat and stuck each of his gliders in the ground, point first, playing his own private game according to his own rules. How far can you travel? Jur asked Gabe. Have your people explored much beyond your mother world yet? Only as far as our moon, Gabe answered. A simple, honest answer. He tried not to sound defensive about it. Your own moon? Jur asked. In orbit around your own world? No farther than that? Not yet, said Gabe, but we have sent probes and robots farther out. There's a robot on Mars that we dropped with a sky crane. Dad and I stayed up late to watch it happen. I don't think you can help us, Jur told him. She still sounded condescending, but not so annoyed. And I don't think we can help you either. But if you haven't traveled far, then the Outlast might not even notice your people. Kath made a sudden noise that didn't translate. He snatched away the leaf branch and stomped on it. Hey, said Jur, surprised and annoyed again. Bones and carapaces, Wright protested. Run, Kath whispered, his eyes wide and his ears moving. Omegan is watching us. Watching, watching, watching now. I'll stomp off like a sore loser. Everyone scatter. Play a chase game in the trees until we can meet again. He locked his massive eyes on Gabe. I'm sorry, he said. You can't travel, and we can't take you with us. Try to hide when they reach your system. I hope they don't find you. He disappeared into the trees. Ripe followed, lifting his legs very high as he ran. Jur of the builders and the yards hesitated. Her hair lashed like the long eelish tail that it actually was. Farewell, Ambassador Gabe, she said. Then she walked away rather than running, though she walked quickly. Gabe stood bewildered on the edge of the forest alone. Kath told me to hide, he thought, and he didn't want to frighten me with news about huge and scary things. That makes me less suspicious of him. If my neighbors are all ditching this part of the galaxy, then they probably don't have any interest in my system, unless they want to hide out there. But it sounds like the Outlast are coming my way too. Maybe the Outlast are the ones trying to kill me, though they seem to want to kill everyone. So they're more likely to stage a massive invasion than carry out sneaky and secret assassination attempts. They're pirates, not ninjas. A galactic invasion inflicting mass extinction felt like a force of nature, like tornadoes and hurricanes, like something Gabe could do nothing about other than buckle down and keep away from windows. And he still didn't know what to think about his neighbors. He threw one last glider, frustrated. He threw it too hard, and it nosedived. Gabe turned around to find Omegan of the Outlast standing directly beside him. He made an involuntary noise of alarm. Be silent, Omegan said without looking directly at Gabe. The ambassador's voice was as sharp and precise as little squares of broken windshield glass. His skin, eyes, and hair were all extremely pale, almost transparent. His expression was less transparent. Gabe saw nothing through it, nothing of what the other ambassador might think or intend to do. You must be silent, Omegan said again, his voice less sharp this time. You must say nothing about your world or capabilities, not where I can hear you. I must not learn these things. Tell me that you understand. Not really, Gabe admitted to himself, but he said, yes, anyway. Omegan of the Outlast seemed satisfied, and he walked back to his hilltop. Gabe felt a huge headache coming on, fed by his incomprehension. He gave me a warning about himself. Not a threat, a warning. Why would he do that? A crumpled leaf ball missed his face. He looked up. Sapie crouched on a tree branch. Kayan stood on the same branch, balanced without holding on. She looked extra serious. Stupid! Sapie yelled. Didn't I warn you about the Outlast? Can your species even make long-term memories? Gabe didn't have time to respond. Dizziness wrenched him away from his sense of entangled self. I'm waking up, he realized. I must be under attack. All right, let's answer the last question. What does Omegan of the Outlast warn Gabe about? Make sure you're paying attention to these few sentences right here. You must say nothing about your world or capabilities, not where I can hear you. I must not learn these things. Tell me that you understand. And if you'd like a sentence starter, you can use Omegan warns Gabe not to blank. All right, everybody, that is it for chapters 11 and 12. I hope you enjoyed it. I personally am wondering what's going on with Omegan the Outlast. What is this warning for? What does he intend to do? Anyway, I guess we'll find out soon. And until then, take care.